Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us on a very special episode of My EdTech Life. That's right. You see the background looks a little bit different. Today, we are actually here at Region 1. We are on site. We are face-to-face. We have a technology conference going on. So thank you to Region 1 for inviting us over today for UTECH 21. And we're definitely going to have some Region 1 folks that'll be coming in later on to tell us a little bit more about this conference, which is a yearly conference. But guys, you don't understand how great it feels to be back face to face, being here with our crew, all the EdTech lovers that are here, and people that are still anxious and ready to learn and take some of these things back to their campuses. And today we have a very special guest who is starting off our shows today. So I am excited to introduce you, in case you may not know who she is, but this is Erica Esqueda. And Erica Esqueda is a Donna ISD librarian, and she is here to kick off our show today. Erica, how are you doing today?
Hi, I am so happy to be here. And anyone that knows me knows I'm like a 99% introvert. It takes a lot of energy to be around a lot of people, but man, it is good to be in person again, around these people that just, are inspiring, and want us, to bring more back to our campuses. So yeah, I'm really glad to be here today.
Oh, that is great. Thank you so much, Erica. And again, thank you so much. And today, what we're doing is we're actually going to be talking about this right here, changing the mindset of teachers resistant to technology. So we know that, that day, March 13th, I don't think anybody will forget that day. At least here in the Valley, that's when it really hit us, March 13th, letting us know like, hey, we won't be back. Things changed. We had to flip a switch from being brick and mortar to going completely online and virtual. And to some extent, you didn't have an option to really be resistant to the tech. However, things have changed. Schools have opened up. We're back face to face. And so, Erica, just for you to, select this topic or something that you want to talk about, give us a little bit of what you're seeing, maybe your personal reflections or things that you may be hearing from your colleagues, not only in your district, but in other districts. What are some of the things that you're hearing or seeing?
So, as a librarian, shout out to all my librarians out there. Love you so much. We become like these technology people. That's the reason I got out of the classroom, is because I saw librarians were going into this technology space, and I love it. And I wanted this one-to-one device thing, and then we did it because of the situation. I didn't want it this way. I didn't want it to be pushed on someone this way, just like, let's go. This is the way we're going to do it from now on. And like you said, we're back in the classroom now. And so, yes, we learned a lot in that, and we don't want to lose the momentum. I definitely don't want to lose the use of technology and the consistency that we're using it in the classroom, but we are back in the classroom. So I do want to take advantage of what we can do in the classroom too. And yeah, there is a lot of resistance to technology, and I think it's being pushed on our teachers a lot, because everyone here at this conference, we love technology. I've been saying it, we're all inspired by it, we're all ready, we're all on the same level, but we need to remember not everybody is like that, and not everybody has the time to look up all these new technologies. You turn your head and there's another technology to learn. They're buying all these technologies, and sometimes we just need to sit and listen and be practical about how they're going to use that in the classroom. And we need to remember always that it is just a tool. The biggest asset to our kids is that teacher, and now that teacher's in the classroom. So sometimes the tool that you need is a pencil,
You're speaking my jam. I completely agree with you. Oftentimes we do overwhelm teachers with so much tech. There's so much that is out there. And even here at these conferences, we get so excited because we find something new and that we really want to implement right away. But oftentimes what we need to do is we need to consider, what it is that we're doing for our kids and really what the tool is set to accomplish. Oftentimes we use tech just to use tech, but there are ways to help teachers not only substitute some of the things that they're doing, of course, to increase their workflow, but also we want to modify to do things that maybe you weren't able to do before. Like you mentioned, even, a pencil was seen as technology and it's still perfectly good as far as tech is concerned. But let's move on to the redefinition also and the modification where we're using the tech for allowing our students to create and giving them that time. Our district, and I'm a firm believer, is just keeping it simple. I think right now we've actually just really settled on 4, major platforms that we're using, and that's what we're trying to maximize. Now, of course, in any district, and Erica, maybe you can tell me a little bit of that experience. In any district, you are going to have those teachers that are innovators, that are looking at other stuff and are really good at applying it, even though it may be some kind of different tack, so we do see those teachers there. Let me ask you, have you seen your teachers fall back into kind of that muscle memory? In other words, trying to get back or going back into their comfort zones?
A little bit. And the thing is, with technology and the Chromebooks, it was still becoming something like where the teacher was still being that person that was always lecturing. Like it became backwards, even though we were using technology. It became, oh, now they have the video, but they're kind of going backwards, even more backwards than they were in the classroom, because we didn't have the time to, like you say, modify their lessons. And I love that you keep saying modification, because a lot of these tools that we're learning today, and like, not to plug me, but we did a Nearpod, and like, we can modify things that teachers already have. I mean, these teachers have been in the classroom. They know what they're doing, We can use Google Slides that they've already used. We can use videos that they've already used and then implement it with a new technology like Nearpod. And not just that, but we need to consider all the resources that we already have. And another plug, like the library resources that we get with the Region 1 co-op, we get BrainPop, which has been so much more than videos for a long time. And that gives students a chance to create. And it's not something teachers are worried about, like, oh, can we buy it? And you can share your ideas with different districts, because anyone that's part of that co-op is able to share whatever they're doing in the classroom.
Perfect. Yeah, and I agree with you. One of the things is that teachers have, that I love that you said, is teachers already have resources built. And so sometimes I think that there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. And for a lot of teachers, we try and say, look, you already have these great lessons. All we're doing is we're just modifying it into and applying it and putting it into this platform that what our intent, and I always tell teachers, my intent is when I introduce you to new tech, I want to introduce you to something where you're going to be able to get back time, because time is the biggest thing that me being in the classroom, and I know you as being in the classroom too, as well as I know that you have the teaching, before you get into being a librarian, but sometimes we just felt like overwhelmed, no time. And then I started finding out, the way that I use tech increased my workflow. But even if at the end of the day I had 15 minutes to just breathe, that felt like a win. And so sometimes I think that's something that's very important for teachers to know, that yes, you may feel like the tech is maybe imposing on your teaching style, but maybe treat it as you're just sprinkling it on, a little layer of flavor to what you're already doing great. So what are your thoughts as far as, the time, maybe return on investment? That's something that I use with teachers. The time that you put in now with the tech, later on, you're going to get that back. But let's talk a little bit about time management there.
So I love that you have brought up time. I think we always need to, like, if we've been in the classroom, you need to always remember that time and how precious it is. And I joke about it all the time, but I mean, that conference time, I still remember my conference time as an elementary teacher was at 2:45. That's when I got to run to the restroom, do my grading, call parents, prep for the next class. And in the summer, even at 2:45, I was like, I need a restroom because my body has already been trained. This is the only time I have. It is so important, and we need to keep it at the forefront. We need to make it easy for our teachers. And yes, again, just if we do it this one time, we can always modify it for the next class. So let's say we do the technology, we've learned it, we've done it for this class, and you know what? This class is different from the next class. Our kids change, but because we've put in the time with the technology, we can modify, we can adapt, and that adaptation is precious, and it's not costing us much at all. And at the end of the day, it's really going to benefit our students.
I love that you hit on that modify piece. And like, as I've shared with a lot of, friends that have been on the podcast and or see us live, it's like my favorite three words have always been improvise, adapt, and overcome. And really, I think the tech, and like you mentioned, is a great tool for teachers to be able to, like you mentioned, you're able to adapt those lessons. But also, sometimes, let's be honest, in the classroom, and I'm sure you've experienced it, I know I've experienced it several times, where maybe a lesson doesn't go quite as you wanted it to, but because of either a tech platform or something of that sort, you're able to come back and you're able to adapt again, you're able to modify, you're able to improvise even, and just take it to that next level. But more than anything, always having that, that end goal. Why am I using this app and why am I sharing it with my students? So that's something that's very important. So Erica, tell us a little bit, as we're kind of, winding down and so on, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions on just kind of a lighter note, or maybe, just to get more insight from you. But I always like to ask this question to a lot of my guests. Currently, I guess maybe during pandemic and even more so now, what has been your edu kryptonite?
Oh man, I don't know where to start. I love technology as much as the next person, and I wanted one-to-one devices as much as the next person, but it hit me hard too, just trying to keep up with everything and to be that support for the teachers that they needed so they don't give up on me, because it is about being there for them, I like what our presenter said this morning about it's not about the technology, it's about the relationships behind the technology. So I didn't want to lose out on that with my teachers. I wanted to do as much as I could to somehow guide them through this. And it's been rough, like for all of us, and it continues to be rough. So yeah.
And that makes perfect sense there, as far as you're saying, for some people, my like biggest edu kryptonite, I think for myself, I'll be honest, is sometimes it's just teachers that are fighting to get back to the way things were pre-pandemic. And oftentimes I think that even doing that to themselves puts more stress on themselves, rather than maybe just thinking, okay, this is where we're at right now, and we know that we need to move forward. So let's take those steps forward instead of just fighting back. And so those are a couple of the things there. But again, like I said, it goes back to that muscle memory, coming back to your comfort zone. Copy machines are flying like, spitting out copies like crazy. And some of the tech has been put aside and put away, because it's like, hey, we're back in the classroom. Those are only for virtual. We really don't need them anymore. So those are little things there that kind of, make me weak in the knees and just kind of like dishearten me a little bit. But it's baby steps. We're getting back, trying to transition and so on. So, it is what it is for right now. So Erica, just to kind of wind down our segment here, anything that you'd like to share, maybe if you're on social media, any place that maybe our guests or viewers can connect with you, through your district or on any of your social media platforms, please feel free to share, or maybe any projects you're working on or anything that you'd like to share, a message, motivate, whatever you'd like. Here's your time to shine, my friend.
I am not big on the social media. I know it's crazy. I need to get on it. But you can always find me. I work with some great librarians at Donna ISD. We are a really great support system, and we just share. I mean, I got into education because I wanted to help. I love public education. It's where I belong. I mean, I know it now. I resisted it. But I cannot any longer. And I think a big thing about it is just share, because I know when I first got into education, it was like some teachers were like holding like, oh, this is mine, I don't want to share. And that's crazy, because in the end, sharing is going to get what our kids need. And just speaking from my district and my librarians, we share everything. I mean, what grant are you working on? What did you do? How did it work? Because you can't win those grants every year, So just please, if you know something, and even if you're hesitant to do it, because hey, again, 99% introvert, but I'm here and I'm sharing and I'm loving it and I'm learning. So please, yes, share. It benefits everyone, even if you share with one person.
Excellent. Well put, Erica. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And again, I appreciate you being our very first guest, kicking off our first annual, well, for at least for my EdTech Life, our first annual face-to-face podcast live stream. And Erica, it is a pleasure to reconnect with you. I know you and I have known each other for a couple of years through mutual friends and working in the same district. But I want to say I am thankful to get to see you again. I am thankful that you are also part of my passion project, which is my EdTech Life. And thank you so much for sharing your heart and your passion for education and for, librarians as well. Thank you for all that you do. And I appreciate you and I wish you the best, in this coming, year. I know we just started, but it almost feels like I'm May tired sometimes. It just depends. But, thank you so much, Erica. All right. So, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned. We are coming back with another guest. We've got Nancy Stockton and Angie Culberson that will be coming up right now in about 5 minutes. So please stick around. We will be right back. everyone. Hey, everybody. We are back. Again, this is a live show. I definitely want to thank Region 1 and for the invite here. Again, My UTECH Life, this is our first road show. It's amazing to be here with such wonderful educators, like-minded individuals that are all about education, finding out what's best for the kids, and definitely finding innovative ways to provide instruction to students. And today, our next guests are definitely no strangers to innovation. They're definitely no strangers to really just bringing the teach on with our students. So I'm really excited to welcome to our show, we have Miss Nancy Stockton and we have Miss Angie Kolberson, who are joining us from Sherryland ISD. And today they're going to be sharing a little bit about post-pandemic tips and tricks to hybridize your classroom. So again, thank you ladies for joining us. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing wonderful. We're so happy to be here.
Thank you for inviting us. This is a great opportunity. I've never done a live show, so really cool. But yeah, we're having a great day.
Awesome. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. And again, it's just real laid back, real cool. Don't even worry. So it's all good. And then just get just a little bit closer to the mic when you get a chance, Angie, but you're good. Okay. So ladies, here we go. Ladies, talk to us a little bit here. It's been interesting times. We've lived them, we've seen it, and so on. And tell us a little bit before we get into your tips and tricks, just your personal experiences. And we'll go ahead and start with Angie first. We'll start with Angie first. Just your experience when we had to flip the switch March 13th to, and then of course during pandemic and some of the things that you're seeing now. So give us a little bit of insight, Miss Angie, and then after that, Nancy, you can go ahead and take over.
Well, of course, it was, the unknown for all of us. We didn't know what was going to happen one day to the next, 1 week to the next, even, a month to the next. So, but, as teachers, as educators, we, did what we needed to do to reach our students as well as we could. When we came back for that pandemic year, that fall of August, 2020? We all just, as first year teachers in this new normal for us, we did what we could, get our, tech toolbox out there and, reached as many students as we could with our innovative strategies in technology.
Well, for me, I was incredibly excited. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so I was so ready for the opportunity to really just try to take everything out of my toolbox and try to use it and connect with my students. So I tried everything under, in the book. I tried it. And my big thing was trying to foster communication and try to bridge that gap through the screen. And for the most part, I felt like it was pretty successful. I still have students from last year that will come to talk to me because of all the different things that we did. They really enjoyed it. So I think it was a success.
Awesome, ladies. Thank you so much for sharing that insight. And I think one of the things that I really like, Nancy, that you stated, and I know, Angie, this not only applies to you, but I think it applies to all teachers. Like you said, it's like really just getting everything that you can out of it. And that requires sometimes getting out of your comfort zone, learning new things that you're not used to. But also, I really loved that you said, opening up those lines of communication. And I think during that time, communication was key. Building relationships was key in the very beginning to try and engage students, throughout that period. So now, ladies, we're here face-to-face. Conference time. Tell us a little bit right now about the feel for the conference. I know you've probably had some time for a couple of sessions this morning, and of course we heard an amazing keynote, and then of course Todd Nelsoni also just did a live little book session or lunch and learn session too as well. Tell us a little bit what some of the highlights are. We'll start with Nancy. So give us a little bit of the highlights that you've seen today.
Well, I think having everybody back in one place, it's so nice. You can really feel that energy in the air. Everybody wants to collaborate. Everyone's just happy. I think it's contagious. And our keynote was absolutely amazing. I went in thinking, we're just going to talk about tech. But he did exactly what I mentioned before with connecting. He really just connected those dots about why we do what we do. And it was just an amazing way to start today.
For For me, it was actually coming to a building and being able to see a live presentation, not through a screen. So for me, that was very refreshing, seeing everyone around us, all with the same idea of wanting to build on our technology, on our apps. It was a great feeling. So we've been having.
Oh, that is wonderful. Well, that's great to hear. And I must admit, definitely, Todd did an amazing job with that keynote. And like you said, Nancy, like it kind of was a little unexpected because we are at a tech conference, but what he said really did resonate. And again, it's just the power of connections and just being face to face. And obviously, like through his story, it's not taking for granted a lot of things that we do have. So that's a wonderful message. So ladies, now let's go ahead, and I want to know from your bag of tricks, like you guys, I know, collaborate very well together. You guys do some amazing things with your high school, and you do your tech talks and things of that sort. But tell us what some of those things, or maybe the best tools that you've used or methodologies that you've shared, with your colleagues and there at the school that have helped you and maybe are currently still putting into practice today. Give us some insight on that.
Well, something I think that is just the common theme is collaboration and just sharing. And one of the tools that personally I was teaching the staff about was Classroom Screen, and how to utilize that to have a different form of communication with our students. And so our teachers were, I think really receptive to it. They liked seeing something different. And moreover, I think when you're giving a lesson, I think including different variations of technology or just some sort of tool to differentiate your lesson, oh my gosh, could go just miles. Your students will completely absorb that content much differently than traditional pen and paper. So
Right, and building on our tech toolbox, that's basically our foundation for, these kids, these 21st century learners, they learn differently than we did, and so we're just trying to build on, what we can do to help them and just get them ready for their future.
Excellent. And that, like you said, that's something that's very important. And, I know, and I don't know if you've seen it, lady, and I've asked colleagues, and I think what I've seen is just a lot of what we've been landing on or seeing through districts as I've been talking to other directors and people is teachers kind of coming back and getting back into their comfort zone, which meant copy machines and the tech just kind of set aside and put away. It's like they see like, well, we used the tech because we had to during that time, but now that we're back, we don't have to anymore. Let's just put it away. And now it's used for testing or just used for just very minimal things that the students are doing. But you hit on a very great point that really resonates with me. And it's something that I love and I'm passionate about speaking is just getting learners prepared for the future of learning today. But not only that, but you're preparing them also for higher ed and the future of work skills. So tell me a little bit as far as, I know you talked about Classroom Screen and seeing things different, but what are some ways that you are still currently implementing that tech and maybe possibly putting it in the students' hands in such a way where maybe they become the creators? So we'll go ahead and start with Angie.
For me, the blended learning goes hand in hand with me in my lab. When I do labs with my students, I like to do both hands-on, so they get that experience of actually touching, feeling, knowing what these materials are, these lab materials. But in the same way, there's things that are abstract concepts that these kids, it's hard to visualize for them. It's hard sometimes for adults to visualize these things. So for me, it's introducing that virtual simulation for them to not only manipulate different variables and see how those relationships make changes, but also to be able to take their learning to another level. When we have our hands-on materials, we're limited to what we can use. But then you have these virtual simulations where, hey, if it's a circuitry lab, hey, I wanna add 20 bulbs, what's gonna happen? Or what if I do this in parallel or series? A bunch of different things that the kids kind of take ownership of their own learning, and they take that lesson to a new level. It takes the scope of the lesson to another level, at least for me, in my experiences with my students.
Angie has done an amazing job, and I will say she's done a lot of this through Nearpod. She has been using a lot of different simulations that in her physics class, wow, just takes it above and beyond. For me as a biology teacher, seeing how the augmented, your session earlier, when you're able to go into like an organ, a heart, it's almost like you're on the magic school bus, and it's something that you can't necessarily, I can show a video on it, but when they see it through their phone and it becomes, almost tactile to them, it completely opens up a completely different area in their brain, and they really tend to hold on to that information.
Oh, that is wonderful. And I love and especially, I think for science, the tech really lends itself to that. And like you said, those simulations are important where the students are able to be part of or immerse themselves in such a way where they can still get that, like you said, that feeling of kind of being there or holding something, that tactile approach. And that's something that's important, and that hands-on approach. But I honestly, I feel that this could be done pretty much in a cross-curricular level. But like you said, I think the key is, Nancy and Angie, it's like, for example, innovative educators such as yourselves to be able to share that. And that's what I love about those tech talks that you do, is that you're sharing it with your campus. So now it becomes something that people, even let's say in the English department see, they're like, hey, but wait a minute, like I can put my own little twist on it. And I always say, you're just adding a little extra spice to what you're already doing great. We're not saying like, hey, we're going to change everything that you're doing and you have to do things different. No. Don't reinvent the wheel. Take what you got, just adding a little bit of extra seasoning with some of the tech. So tell us a little bit, Nancy, we'll start with you, and then Angie, you can fill in. How did these tech talks emerge, and what are some of the great things that you're seeing from, having those tech talks?
Well, as I mentioned before, when the pandemic happened, of course, one part of me was like, oh no, it's a pandemic. But the other part was like, I'm excited to literally go above and beyond here. So in that, I realized that I was one of a few teachers on my campus that was really, really comfortable in that whole arena. So I, reached out to my dean and was like, okay, what can we do for the teachers? And as you know, every campus has its own tech influencers that are able to help and inspire others. And, I'm sitting next to one right now, Angie. And so my big thing was, what can I do to help them and do it across content? Almost like a nice, beautiful little like sponge that they can take something from it and use it. So, now that we're back in person, I'm going to touch back on what you were talking about earlier. Yeah, our biggest fear, I think, is teachers wanting to go back to pencil and paper. And so we're still doing our tech talks, and now what we're trying to do is we're stressing the importance of using the resources that they took the time to create, and we're kind of showing them how to insert them in this hybrid blended world that we're in right now, and not to lose sight of that. That's my main goal.
The tech talks were Nancy's baby, so her
Yes.
vision came to fruition, and it was an amazing experience. And I was so happy and blessed that she asked me to be a part of it, and I was really, eager to show. I talked about Nearpod in my tech talk, but we had others who talked about ways that they use technology in their class. Of course, we were virtual at the time, but like Nancy said, we want to take what we made, all those materials that we made in the virtual setting, use them in tandem with our in-person classes now. And so that's our main goal now today, especially with our presentation today. Yeah, our session today, we're going to be talking about how we're blending that hybrid model with the in-person students, still using our virtual materials.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate you being here and just sharing your passion and for everything that you've done for our kids and for your school, your department, and just reaching out to other departments aside from the science department and being able to be those influencers, those innovators that, like you said, I love the way you said, Nancy, just so well put. It's like a little sponge. You've got a great repository of people that are there that are wonderful. So thank you so much. But before we end, I know we've got about 3 minutes or 2 minutes or so, but I kind of want to end on kind of like I always ask these questions on my regular podcast show, but just to kind of get just a little sense of our guests and so on. So my question to both of you ladies is this, and we'll start with Angie first. If you can have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Oh my goodness, I need some thinking time for this. I'm very indecisive, sir. Gosh.
I'll do mine first. I think what I would do is maybe have something inspiring on there. A billboard, if someone's going to see that every day, I want it to be uplifting, something that's going to carry a person from point A to point B. So just something positive out in the universe.
Oh, okay. So I actually wanted to look back at one of our keynote had a few awesome one-liners. I would probably want to write one of those, but it'd be somewhere along the lines of, if someone hasn't told you yet today, you are enough. So something inspirational in that sense.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah, I would want that. A constant reminder for everyone to know that they are enough. So.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Thank you, ladies, so much. I really appreciate you being here and taking the time out of your day. And again, thank you so much for being a guest here on My EdTech Life. This is my passion project. This is what I love, just connecting educators, creators, one show at a time. And I appreciate you being part of this journey because it really means a lot to me too as well. So enjoy the rest of your conference and, just keep on learning. And I'm really excited to hear, about everything that you learned today, but also to see the amazing things that you will continue to do. So thank you. I really appreciate you all. And again, thank you guys. So again, guys, we are live here at Region 1 at the UTECH 21 conference. Thank you so much to Region 1 and Omar Lopez, Carla Lara, and everybody else that has, made this possible. I really appreciate you all so much. And we will be back shortly in about 4 minutes. We are live and we will have our next guests coming up. Okay. So we are live. Stick around. All right. We'll see you shortly. All right, guys, those of you that are joining us here and watching, keep in mind we are live here at UTECH 21. Again, thank you so much for Region 1. And the next guest that we will be having shortly, we will have Mr. Carlos Garza, who is right outside here. He's going to be joining us. So go ahead and come on in, and we'll be back with you shortly while we get set up and squared away, guys. All right, everybody. Thank you so much again for sticking around and hanging out with us. We are at UTECH 21. Thank you again to Region 1 for inviting us here today as we are streaming live. That's right. You don't see the white bookcase here in the back. We are live. We are face to face. And I am about to bring on an amazing guest, an amazing friend, and an amazing innovator. All right. And I've had the honor and privilege of knowing Carlos for a while. And then I've also had the honor and privilege to be able to share a Google Innovator experience together. And the fact that we're here face to face really excites me. So I am going to go ahead and bring him on. There he is. And I am excited. Here is our friend. And it's just wonderful to be here face to face. Carlos, how are you doing today, my friend?
I am doing awesome. Thank you so much for letting me enjoy this scene. It's an amazing microphone, by the way. And it's amazing to finally be face to face, right? It's interesting.
Oh, yeah. Very interesting to say the least. And it's just been a lot of fun catching up with people. And I mean, even though you and I have already known each other through conferences and things of that sort, but man, being gone or being in pandemic, being locked down for that long and not being able to see each other face to face, but being able to communicate virtually, I mean, that was great. But the fact that I get to see you and that we get to see a lot of our other colleagues and the people that are just here, just anxious to continue to learn has been something that's been wonderful and great. And today, we're definitely going to be talking about some wonderful learning, and we're going to be talking about some Google Edu certifications. We're going to be talking about level 1, level 2, coach, innovator, and trainer. And I'm definitely going to be sharing some resources that you helped create, a website with some resources there that can help any educator who is interested in pursuing any of these certifications, that they can hop on and get some info and get ready and prepped. So, Carlos, tell us a little bit about, well, number one, let's talk about Google Innovator, man. I mean, we can't not talk about Google Innovator. Let's talk about that amazing experience. I know it was virtual and all that great stuff, but what did you think about the opportunity that you and I had within the Google Innovator or VIA 20 cohort?
Yes, it was an amazing experience. One, it took me like 3 years before getting accepted. And it's one of those that you just gotta try and try again. And you fail, and you know, that design process, you fail, you revisit your application, you redesign it based on feedback that you are given. And unfortunately, the feedback does not come from the raters. It comes from other innovators, right? So this is an exciting process, because I know that I cried when I applied for the New York 2019. It was a difficult, because I gave it so much out of me, right? But come 2020, with the VIA 20 Innovator program, it was an amazing experience.
No, definitely. I agree with you 100%. And, you said it took you three tries. And I know that we have a mutual friend in common, Frederick Ballou. And, his story, I'll share a little bit about it, but definitely it's something that is inspiring. And when I got to hear his story, I was like, okay, there's something to this. If somebody's applying that much and it continues persevering and just continues to have that drive to do something like this, is because this is something that's special. And so, like you said, one of the things that helped me during the process this last year, because I had actually applied for NYC 19, the New York, and I didn't get accepted, obviously, but, I didn't know really what I was getting into. So I know that you already had a little bit more experience in the Google world and the things that you were doing and building up capacity within your district too as well. And I was just kind of starting this new role. So I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. And to be honest with you, and I tell this story with everybody, the Innovator application, I kind of treated it as if it was the Google Trainer certification. So it was just really like, it can't be that bad. It's just a little video, things of that sort. But I didn't know that there was more to it. But the best advice, though, that I got is connect with as many innovators as possible and then be able to reach out to them for help. So that's one of the things that I took as this experience, is that this is something that goes beyond not just being a Google innovator, but the amazing amount of connections that one makes, and that it's a friendships that are for life, because we are in this group that is just a wonderful group of educators that are passionate. So that's awesome. And I loved my experience there. I know that we didn't get to be in the same cohort with the same coaches, but it was just great to see our projects that we had in mind kind of somewhat come into fruition. But I know, to be honest, I rang the fail bell and I had to pivot. So tell me about your experience.
I did as well. I know that I had to pivot, and I saw a great opportunity, and it started before the big change that Google Classroom did. So there was a time where Google Classroom didn't have those rich text formatting tools. And the idea was, whenever you provide that feedback to students, you cannot bold keywords, or instructions for students. You cannot bold keywords or italicize or underline. And this was difficult to students that needed to go directly to that specific keyword and understand just that sentence without getting lost in all that text. So that's when I thought about creating an extension that could work in pretty much across Google Classroom, Google Forms, or anywhere that it is simple text, to create it into some kind of rich text formatting. So the idea that came to mind was an extension that could work there. And what I created was something called GRTF. As I was pivoting through this process, the idea that Google Classroom was going to come up with their own rich text formatting kind of set me back a little, and it was like a blow. And I'm like, I'm trying to do this, and Google already came up with it, but it still works for Google Forms. So as I was creating it, I realized that it still works in Google Forms, because Google is making some rich text formatting, but it is not perfect. It is not great for Google Forms specifically. So this still works great on Google Forms. It works as long as you have the extension. It works on Twitter. It works on Facebook, anywhere where there's simple text formatting. And the website supports UTF-8 or Unicode, in other words, then it should work for just about any website.
That is great. And right now, viewers, anybody that are watching us right now live or will be catching the replay, here is my great friend's Innovator project. And I love this. I mean, like you said, he's got it here, our GRTF extension. But one of the things is, like, I know Carlos personally, I know your drive and I know your passion for education, and you really are an innovative person, and I really admire you for that, because of what you've been able to do has also paved the way for many others here in the Valley and, here in this area, not only here, but just globally, as you've been able to connect with other educators. But I really love this right here in the extension. It says here, Google EDU Innovator via 20, and then you actually have here your how might we statement. And I think that this is great in that it shows how invested you were into this project, and the passion that you're bringing, and the problem that you saw, and the solution that you're trying to find. That even though, yes, there was a change, this still has a purpose in the ecosystem, and it could definitely be used as a wonderful tool, like you mentioned, also in any other locations where they do have that the plain text. So I love it, and so thank you so much for sharing that. And guys, make sure you check out this extension. I will definitely be putting it right here in our chat comments, and they will be going up on the show notes as well. So make sure you check out my friend Carlos's extension. But now what we're going to be talking about is, I know you're here to talk about certification. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about here right now. I am going to share your website in our chat also as well. But tell us a little bit about this project that you've got going on.
Okay, so the Google certification is more than what we know. There's several Google for Education certifications, 3 specifically, that you might not know. So you probably already know about 1, 2, Coach, Trainer, and Innovator. But did you know that there's 3 other ones, and they're free to obtain? So let me talk a little bit about starting with some, and then I'll get into the level 1, level 2, and so on. Starting with the digital citizenship and safety training or certification. That one, you go through a training, and it's approximately 2.5 hours, and the certification is based on the training and the exam, which is part of the training. So this course is designed for educators and students to learn how they can help create a safe and positive experience online. Now, one option that educators have is also the Be Internet Awesome curriculum, which I provide links on the website. And there's the educator curriculum and the presentations would tie in with Pear Dick. So all that is available there. So that's one. The other one that you might not know is called the Distance Learning for Educators. This is also free. It's also about 2.5 hours of training. And same thing, the exam is included with the training. And this one is for using the Google Workspace for Education fundamentals to help support learners at any distance, even with learners using a second language. Then we look at the level 1 certification. The training is free, but the exam is $10, okay? And you have a limit of 3 hours to take the exam, and it expires in 3 years. The certification, of course, is based on your results of the exam. And this is for educators who are new to Google tools. And this course focuses on rethinking tools and retooling the workspace using fundamentals. And this is the first step in your certification career. Now, if you're not going to pursue the trainer and the innovator, then maybe this is not for you. But if you're going for the trainer and the innovator and the coach, definitely this is your first step. And then the second step is called level 2. Same thing, the training is free, but the exam costs $25 and it also expires in 3 years. And the same thing, based on the results of your exam, is how your certification is going to be awarded. And this is beyond fundamentals. This is an advanced course for cutting edge strategies using Google, right? And then comes the coach. The coach, the training. Now this one is 9 hours of training. The cost is free again. The exam is approximately 45 minutes. And it's included with the training. But the certification is not based on the exam. The certification is based on acceptance, depending on the application, and you have to create a portfolio. You have to pass the exam, your level 1, your level 2, and you have to recertify every year. This is specifically for one-to-one interactions with educators, unlike the trainer. The trainer is a 20-hour training The training is free. The exam is $15, and you have 1 hour to complete the exam. This one also, the exam does not certify you. The certification is based on acceptance as well. You have to apply and create a video, which my friend here, Alfonso, has talked about. So it is required to pass the exam, level 1, level 2, and you need to recertify every year. This one is not one-to-one. This is to improve educator skills as a trainer, as educators learn to create and deliver inspiring training sessions on Google Tools. For example, this awesome conference called UTECH. Then comes the Certified Innovator. This is the amazing one, right? Like the top of the line certifications. It's the training is the training, it could be in person or virtual. The in-person training is 3 days. If you go the virtual route, it's 8 weeks. There is no cost to the training. However, if you do the in-person academy, there may be cost related to travel and lodging and so on. But before you get accepted to the training, it requires acceptance to the academy. There's an application, there's a video requirement, and as we talked about earlier, this is very, very rigorous. So as Fons said earlier, make sure you connect with as many people as possible, a lot of innovators, to help you. And of course, as innovators, we are more than willing to help you.
For sure, definitely.
The exam, there is no exam, but you need to complete your project within 1 year of being accepted to the program. And the cost is dependent on your project. So for example, for me, I need a computer, right? So maybe, I don't think you need to buy a computer. I'm pretty sure any computer would do in my case, because I needed to create. So my thing was learning. How am I going to learn? Am I going to pay somebody to help me learn? Or am I going to pay somebody to develop or rather code the program? In my case, I tried to keep it as cost effective as possible. So I learned it myself, I coded it myself, and I submitted it. There is a fee to submit on an extension. So that was the only payment. It was about $10, I think. So there's no exam. The cost is just dependent on your project. And the certification is just based on completing the academy. And again, this is for Google's, this certification is for innovators to recognize and support top educators who are excited to grow professionally and advocate for impactful technology. And the last one that I'm going to talk about is a brand new one that it's very difficult to come by, because this one, the certification is based on the availability of the training, which is rare. I've heard that the next one available is in December 2021, but we'll see. The training is 1 hour, it's free, but it is required for the certification. And this is for educators who are passionate about closing the digital divide using applied digital skills. And the only way I can tell you is follow Sue, and you can find her Twitter handle on my website. Follow her, and you will find out when is the next training available.
Excellent, my friend. Well, I mean, definitely a lot of great stuff happening in the world of Google. Excuse me. And like you said, definitely this one right here is the one that you really need to make sure that you check out, and keeping a close eye on Twitter, because Sue Tranquina, she will go ahead and post those and you'll see those. So make sure that you hop on board for that one. That way you can go ahead and get that badge, but you get that training, that certification. And of course, like my friend Carlos is saying here, all of these tools and all of these certifications are for educators such as you, such as me, such as anybody who's really passionate about just really amplifying the learning, amplifying creativity, and pretty much anything that would be happening in your classroom. So definitely, guys, check these out. And we will be putting all of these links in the show notes as well that Carlos was here sharing. And again, it's always an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to have my friend Carlos here joining us today. Carlos, thank you so much. And I wish you the best this coming year with everything that you're doing in the future. I know you're going through the master's program, same master's program that I went through. It's going to go by quick, my friend. You're definitely, you're cut for it. You and your wife are going to do great. And I know that, having Dr. Corbeil and Dr. Maria Elena Corbeil as well, that's also phenomenal. So keep up the great work. Keep up inspiring everybody around you, my friend. And thank you so much for what you do. And before you go, Carlos, please let our audience members know how it is that they can connect with you on social media, my friend.
All right, so on social media, you can connect with me at EduGoogDroid. And I'm on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, what else? YouTube. And so I'm trying to be more active on TikTok now, but you can always contact me on Twitter.
Perfect. And don't worry, audience members, if you didn't get that, we'll definitely make sure we put that in the show notes, and we'll put it here in the chat as well. Carlos, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here, my friend. You take care and enjoy the rest of your conference. Thank you so much, everybody. UTEC, you're good to go. Region 1, thank you so much. UTEC 21 for allowing us to be here live, here and in person. And we've got Ali Kolahdouz, who will be joining us shortly. So stay tuned for that. We are live. We're taking a short little break right now, guys. Y'all take care. Don't go anywhere. All right. All right, everybody. Hello, UTEC 21. Again, thank you so much to Region 1. Thank you so much for, their hospitality. Thank you so much to all the attendees right now. They seem to be on break. Everybody's going to some awesome, amazing conferences and presentations. And, they're giving away some swag, presenter bags, and so on. But if you are watching us live, make sure you stop by the booth and you can go ahead and get yourself some My EdTech Life stickers. We'll be more than happy to share these with you. So again, if you don't have your My EdTech Life sticker and you're watching us and you're here at UTEC, please don't hesitate to drop by the booth and we'll definitely get you some stickers. We'll definitely love to share those. And of course, make sure you connect with us at My EdTech Life on Twitter, at My EdTech Life, pretty much on any social media. And don't forget to visit our website, which is myedtech.life, where you will be able to find all our podcasts. This right now today will be episode 94, and we've got some great guests, and we're getting ready to set up for our next guest. So thank you so much, Region 1, UTEC also 21. Thank you so much, and we're getting ready right now. We will be back shortly. All right, everybody, those of you that are joining us live, thank you so much. Region 1, UTECH 21 happening live right now. And for many of you that follow us, guys, I know you don't see the usual background here, the bookcase. Well, that's because we are live, face to face. That's right. We are here at the UTECH Wonderful Conference that is happening right now at this very moment. And I want to thank Region 1. I definitely want to thank Omar Lopez, everybody, Carla Lara, Mike Chuka, Gustavo, oh my gosh, I forgot his last name, but Goose, the STEM guy, Goose, Sylvia also as well. And of course, right now, we are going to be talking to Mr. Ali Kolahdouz, who is the Technology for Learning Deputy Director, who is going to be joining us right now live. And here he is. So thank you so much for joining us today. Ali, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, my friend. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I just got to tell you, and I know we just talked about this right now as we were kind of setting up, just for your part here that's happening. But I really want to say thank you because this building just looks so beautiful. What you guys are doing here, and I'm going to repeat what I said. It almost feels like I went out of town to come to a conference because the types of facilities that I'm seeing here are the types of facilities that normally everybody's like, well, I want to go to San Antonio, or I want to go here and I want to go there. And now I'm like, wow, like I get that feeling here. So Mr. Kolahdouz, and for the rest of your team, thank you so much for investing into our learning community. Thank you for seeing the talent that is here, and more than anything, your mission and vision to continue to grow the talent that is here locally with the services that you offer. So my hat's off to you and everything that you're doing, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. I can't take credit for it myself. I will say, however, our culture down here is strong, and the folks that we do have here, you're right, absolutely talented. I think the building is just a reflection of the people that we have working in education down here. A lot of dedicated folks that I am humbled to be around. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Excellent. Well, let's go ahead and just get to know a little bit more about what's happening here, Mr. Kolahdouz. So just as a question, currently right now, what is your vision that you may have for the entire Technology for Learning division? What's coming ahead? What do we ourselves as stakeholders here within this Region 1 area have to look forward to?
Well, that's a big question. Let me see. So my vision for technology here in the Rio Grande Valley, where we call home, I think kind of referencing back to your earlier statement, when we think about high tech, when we think about technology, you're right, we think about Austin, we think about California, San Francisco, and so forth. But unfortunately, what happens is we grow all the talent down here, and then they leave us and they go somewhere else. And my vision is that we start developing not just technology and education, but an entire industry around the brain power that we have down here, right? We've got a huge university down here, talented people. We're drawing professors in from the rest of the country only to get our kids educated and have them leave and go to other companies, Bring the companies down here. I want to see more SpaceX's down here. I want to see a Tesla plant down here. I want to see GM down here for R&D, not just building carts. Manufacturing is great, but let's get the high-tech stuff down here. Let's have our students recognize the incredible amount of talent that they're building up and have them stay here and improve our communities. Have their children grow up here where, mom and dad live, and just make it the kind of place that other people want to come vacation to. To your point regarding education, at a very high level, actually, let me start by saying I watched a speech by former President Obama, and they asked him that question, and without skipping a beat, I would say without even inhaling, they asked him, what do you think would be the one solution to the world's problems? And he immediately said education. Education is the silver bullet, and I 100% agree with that. I think it'll help us make better citizens. I think it'll make us have a more socially conscious populace. And I think the inclusion of technology, things that are driving the world today, is only going to make that a more burgeoning trend. And again, I want to see it happen here. And I'm not saying Region 1 is the forefront, but man, we just want to support everything that our school districts are doing. And I see it on a daily basis. I have the privilege of watching the teachers that are out here, the instructional technologists that came to this conference. They come and teach us what they're doing in their classrooms. And it's amazing, man. It is fantastic. Everything from like the near pods all the way up to the augmented reality. I mean, it blows my mind that we've got all this brain power just walking around right here. So you want to ask for my vision, man? I want the valley to become the next San Fernando Valley. That's what I want.
My goodness, I love it, Mr. Kolahdouz. Your passion really comes through here, and as I've been part in this new role for my 5th year, but being able to come here for some of the tech meetings that you have with some of our tech directors and being part of that and getting to know you as you first came in, and then just to see how everything has grown. You know, from the moment that I first met you and that you came in and you were talking about this, I mean, and just seeing it now, I mean, I know it's work that takes time, but I do appreciate it. And I know that many of us here appreciate what it is that you're doing. And yes, I agree with you that oftentimes the Valley is looked down upon. And I'll be honest with you, even through my show and getting to meet a lot of wonderful educators, there's a lot of them that don't know that there is still Texas south of San Antonio. So, but you know, I've had Omar in the house. Omar right now, he's joining us, watching us live, and Omar's been a guest. And Omar is one of my favorite educator creators. But you know, one of the things that Omar and I have talked about is saying, you know, sometimes we'll go to these conferences in San Antonio, you know, the big cities, and you think like, you know, oh man, the people over there because they have more accessibility and so on. And him and I have talked about this and said, you know what, we see what their presentations are like, and we're like, really? Like that's all you're doing? And I think the difference is that even though, yes, down here we're in a different demographic, maybe things are not as accessible, and now they're getting better, but because we've had to be very innovative with the little that we have, that we've been able to take leaps and bounds that when something else comes, it's like, man, we're already ahead of that, or we use that in a different manner and being very innovative. So I love that that's your vision, bringing this brain power together. And there's a lot of great things happening, and oftentimes it's overlooked, but I appreciate that Region 1, your department, and everybody here is saying, you know what, we need to up the stakes here. So I really appreciate that. So tell us a little bit about, you know, the 7th annual here, the UTECH Conference, you know, and how does this conference differ from other Region 1 conferences?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I think the name really says it all, using technology to make a difference. I think technology is the great facilitator, not just in education, but, you know, in the everyday world. A lot of us are enthusiasts. We do technology for technology's sake. You know, you like take something apart, figure out how it works. But a lot of the folks that are walking around out here actually use technology to do what we were just talking about. You know, make sure the child in the classroom that maybe isn't connecting with algebra or calculus or geography maybe has that leap with something that they're more familiar with, maybe is able to figure out how to utilize social media to teach a lesson, maybe is able to demonstrate a concept in engineering or science or STEM, and without even communicating in those terms, but make that child have that connection, you know, get them interested, get them engaged. So I think this conference is different from all our others because we're not necessarily bringing in subject matter experts to talk specifically about what that one thing is that they're doing. To me, they're truly practitioner integrators. They have a leg in technology, they have a leg in the classroom, they have a passion for both, and they're teaching other people how to use those tools, because that's really what they are. They're tools. They're not the end. They're the means to get it. They're teaching people how to use those tools to actually lift the students up and get us to that point where we want to be here in the Rio Grande Valley. To your earlier point, my former employment was at University of Texas San Antonio. I worked in IT over there, research technology. It really is in a different world, even though people think San Antonio, Austin, all these other places, I mean, they've got the same issues, they've got the same kind of building concerns, they've got the same classroom concerns. I think we've done so much with the limited resources and the geography that we have through sheer force of will and determination down here. And again, I think it's because of the culture and some of the difficulties our area has gone through. And we've exceeded in a lot of ways what I saw at that university there. You know, I'm talking about higher ed, but yeah, there's nothing down here. They got nothing on us. Let me just put it that way. We are in a class of our own, I think, and I think this conference reflects that. I think it's just amazing to get this group of people out here and have them share and learn together. And it's so nice to do it after 2 years of not being able to get together. You know, that I think above everything else, being able to actually walk by and shake hands with people and have a cup of coffee has been fantastic. been a long time.
Oh, yes. No. It's been wonderful. And again, thank you so much for, again, what you do and what you've shared. And so I want to kind of ask now just a little bit more in depth. It's like, could you elaborate on maybe some current initiatives that Region 1 is doing, to, just reach out to our learning community, our schools? I know for ourselves, our district is part of Megabyte. Megabyte has been huge for us. And the years that we've been part of it, we've had teachers that come into conferences and are continuing learning. I myself take advantage of those as well because you guys have some amazing resources. But what are some initiatives or any upcoming projects that you guys have going on?
Absolutely. So I'll give you a little bit of history. I've been with Region 1 now for about 4 years. And when I first came on board, our executive director at that time had a vision of improving access to the rest of the world in terms of internet bandwidth, closing that digital divide, closing the gap. So for the first couple of years, myself, the entire team up here, hundreds of people across the districts, we got together, we formed a consortium. We were able to bring low-cost, high-speed internet to 33 of our districts for pennies on the dollar what they were paying. In technical terms, some went from 200, 300 megabits of internet up to 10 gigabit. I mean, it put us on the world stage in terms of bandwidth availability. That was building the foundation, and we knew we needed to have equitable access regardless of where you were geographically, so that when the playing field is level, these initiatives that you're asking me about, we could actually have a foothold to make them successful. What we're focused on now is using that foundation, that bedrock that we've laid, to do things like have more STEM and robotics in the curriculum. Make it available for children to, for instance, not just have a kit, but actually be able to virtually, let's say, do programming. Not just with drag and drop, but learn how to code that way. Have it drive that code to a robot. Put the robot together. We're looking at augmented reality. We're building partnerships with like the University of California because of the work that they've done in STEM. We've done coding camps for girls because I think even today, I think women are underrepresented in STEM and science in general, although I'm really glad to see statistics that they're starting to overtake boys in engineering and in computer science at the college level when they come out of high school. So that's great to see. We are looking at trends in cybersecurity, making sure that our schools are better protected, making sure that awareness is there. We're always looking for what that next thing is, because I feel like here when we accomplish something, we don't stop and do the back patting and celebrate. That's what the other folks here do. We do it and we move on. Mike Chuka's team in particular, I don't think they ever actually stop to take a breath. They go from conference to workshop to coding camp to you name it, they're doing it. And the division as a whole tries to support what's going on in the classroom. To me, they're the front line. A lot of people ask me what's your focus, and typically response is well, our data center and the IT and making sure that people have the tools that they need. But in reality, that's just kind of facilitating, again, giving the people the tools to do what they need to do to support instruction. I think ultimately that's Region 1's main goal, is to support instruction, to make sure that we're letting kids graduate with not just a firm knowledge base, but the ability to go out in the world and make a difference, make a change. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking at on the horizon. And I'm really excited. I wish I could give you full details, but it's exciting to be in an industry where things are happening on a day-to-day, and it's just really cool to be a part of that. Yeah.
No, and I love everything that you shared, because even for our audience members that are even watching live or they'll catch the replay, they get to hear it from you. They get to hear it from people that, we are the stakeholders, and, what you guys are doing. Like I said, I'm so excited to be here after 2 years, and then just this building looks completely different than when I first started coming here many years ago when I came into education, and the growing by leaps and bounds. And like you said, your divisions and everything that you're doing, providing that support, the consortium is huge. That is big. Just really closing that digital divide. So, Mr. Kolahdouz, thank you so much for everything that you are doing. And like you said, continually moving forward. You're just not, hey, we've done this. we're good. No. What's the next big thing? We're going to grow and we got to keep going. So thank you so much. And any closing remarks or, before we go? I know I can keep talking to you forever, like as a regular podcast episode. So maybe I may have you just on a full on dedicated podcast episode, but I know this was something short and sweet and to the point and brief. But, any closing remarks that you'd like to share for our audience members, anybody that's watching, anything that you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, I want to thank you for having me on. Love your nickname, Fonz. Man, that's awesome. I remember that from Happy Days. Yeah. If I could share anything with anybody listening, I would say that, and I thought back and forth about whether I want to say this or not. I was not what you'd consider a good student in school, but I had the benefit of some teachers that looked past sometimes my inability to sit down and focus, and they identified those things that were positive about me, and they nurtured those, and they encouraged those. And I see these folks doing that every day, but they go above and beyond. After hours, planning on the weekends, making sure the kids have extracurricular activities, So one, forget what we're doing here at Region 1. I want to take this time to thank them, because those kids are going to grow up to be the doctors, lawyers, and engineers doing the work that's going to support us as we get older. And I just want to invite the entire region, come to our facility, come visit with us, have coffee, use our rooms, plan camps with them. We want to collaborate, we want to learn together, we want to grow, we want to support you. So I hope we can do more of this. We're looking forward to bigger and better conferences. Mid-May, we've got the technology conference coming up with a whole lot more activities, so I hope to see you all there. Fonz, thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate you taking the time. And as always, I'm very thankful to Region 1 for everything that they've done. And like I said, a lot of the things that I have learned and have equipped me to become a better educator, I've definitely learned from here. So thank you. And it's great to see you guys growing. So thank you. I appreciate you. And again, guys, we are live. We just finished interviewing Mr. Ali Kolahdouz. So please stay tuned. We're going to take a short little break. We got a next guest coming up. All right, guys. We are still here live. We're waiting for our next guest, but before our next guest comes, again, I just wanted to let you know, please make sure that you go follow us on Twitter. We are on Twitter at myedtech.life, so please make sure that you go ahead, give us a like. I will go ahead and be popping this link in here into our chat. Make sure that you also visit our website where you can go ahead and catch all our episodes here, myedtech.life. At myedtech.life, you will be able to see all of our episodes here that we've had. We've had 93 episodes up until today, which is 94. We've got episode 95 coming up on Saturday with Bobby Carlton, and we will be talking something that I'm very passionate about, which is the world of AR, VR. So please make sure that you join us. And again, thank you so much. Please make sure that you drop us a line, drop us a comment, give us a like. You'll be seeing all the links, everything that everybody talked about in the show notes. So I really appreciate every single one of you. So again, let me go ahead and let you know here that we've got, let me see, a couple things here going on. All right. Big shout out to Omar Lopez, who's joining us in the chat. Thank you so much, Omar, for joining us. And like I mentioned to you, this coming Saturday, we've got Bobby Carlton, who's joining us. And here you go. So join us on Saturday here. We'll be talking about AR, VR, and of course, the metaverse. You've heard Facebook's big announcement. So we're going to talk about AR, VR implications. What's the future look like, not only of education, but the future of work. And Saturdays are for VR. So big shout out also to Morehouse College for Morehouse in the metaverse, also for doing some amazing work there. And again, big shout out to Sharyland ISD, big shout out to our Pioneer robotics team who's here. Big shout out also to our Rattler robotics team that made it out here. We've had Nancy Stockton, We had Angie Colberson. We also have Isaac Escamilla, who's here, also my colleague. So big shout out to Isaac for stepping in and stepping up to this position and doing just an amazing job. So kudos to him. Big thank you to our assistant sup, Pam Montalvo, our superintendent, Dr. Vidauri. Thank you so much for everything that you do. So I'm just plugging away here at Sherryland ISD. But guys, if you're watching us and you're seeing this, please make sure you stop by our podcast booth and you can go ahead and get yourself some stickers. And if you come right now in the next couple of minutes, I'll definitely hook you up with a keychain and a button as well. So please make sure that you stop by. All right, so we're kind of trying to get our next guest that'll, so we can go ahead and interview. And we're waiting for Mr. Gustavo Perez. Gustavo Perez, who is here talking about all things STEM. So again, let us know where it is that you're joining us from, guys. We are live at UTECH 21. All right, here we go. All right, guys. Hopefully everybody's doing great today. We've got some great sessions, and also want to give a big shout out to Mr. Todd Neslony. Todd Neslony, who was the keynote speaker this morning, and it was just a powerful, powerful keynote. So big shout out to Mr. Todd Neslony. It would be great if we would be able to have him here, but I know that he is busy at the moment. So let us see what it is. Again, we're just waiting for Mr. Gustavo to come by. All right, guys. So we're not going off the air. We are live at UTECH, but we're just gonna take a short little break here. Okay, guys. We will be back shortly. As you can see, we are live at UTECH 21. Here, I am your host, Fonz Mendoza from My EdTech Life, and we are getting ready to get Gustavo Perez, who is running late. Let's go, Gustavo. Gustavo's running late, and we're going to be talking about STEM education in the RGV. STEM education in the RGV. So again, we are here and we are ready, and we're ready to go in just a second. So we will be back shortly, my friend. We are live at UTECH 21, and I'm about to bring our next guest on. His name is, wait, I didn't even change, his name didn't change correctly. Let me make sure we change this, because this is Gustavo Perez, and I am going to bring him on shortly in just a second. And boom, there he is. Gustavo, thank you so much. Today we are going to be talking about STEM education in the RGV. So we will make sure we fix that title there for you. But Gustavo, first of all, I want to say I'm excited to see you, my friend. It has been way too long. Usually it's like we see each other at least about 5 times, 6 times a year if I'm lucky. And, you know, we have some fun. You guys do an amazing job with STEM and those conferences. So it's definitely great to see you back. How are you doing today, my friend?
We're doing fantastic. It's an exciting time to, first of all, it's an exciting time to be in STEM. Let's put it that way in general, right? Tremendous energy across the state of Texas in all levels, right? Both in K-12, higher ed, industry. Everybody's taking the STEM pill, right? I think they threw in a STEM pill in part of the Pfizer, part of the some of those. There was a STEM pill in there. People don't know it, so now the excitement's through the roof.
Oh, no. I agree with you 100%. And I'm going to tell you this.
I think you can get the STEM booster. Also.
The STEM booster. No, and I got to tell you this. You know, right now, as part of my doctoral studies, I actually took a special topics in STEM course. And man, you know, it number one, since I don't know why, it just, again, it did do, like, it just woke me up and got me out of this. You know, of course, we're thinking of pandemic, where we're getting teachers set up, ready to go and all that stuff. But just in thinking about this, I'm like, man, you know, there's still a lot of work to be done. I know that we do have that booster out that, you know, everybody is on that STEM bug, and definitely it's something that is needed, more of that hands-on instruction and so on. So let's talk a little bit about that. You know, first of all, I'm going to ask you, and just, I don't know, you can be just honest, but I know it was very difficult during these times, you know, of pandemic and having to do things virtual. And I know for STEM, oftentimes it's like, oh, you know, it's got to be a lot of hands-on. It's got to do all those things. How did you and Sylvia and the rest of the department, you know, how did you kind of like adapt to the situation? So kind of walk us through that a little bit, and then into the now, the excitement. Everybody's back face to face. So tell us a little bit about that.
So definitely. So of course, you know, COVID impacted a lot of areas in different ways, and you know, STEM is obviously really heavily. One of the central pieces of STEM is that it's got to be hands-on, right? So how do you navigate that when you're in a screen? And what we did is we got really creative and tried to leverage, instead of saying what can't we do, we focused on what can we do, right? You have your inner circle and your outer circle. Inner circle, things you can control. Outer circle, you can't control. So students were at home. What I did a lot is just showcase for educators throughout the region easy ways to get kids involved at home, and springboard on the conversation of COVID and things that they're dealing with on a day-to-day to make STEM relevant. So one example, and I'll give you just one example that comes to my mind right now, is I said, okay, you know what, students, through COVID, kids are going through COVID. I said, why do you use that hand sanitizer? What does it do for you? And so for a while there was a shortage of hand sanitizer in the region. Remember, you couldn't find it. You couldn't find alcohol. I was okay, what if you had to make your own hand sanitizer? So I said, you know what, let's go find some alcohol, as long as it's 70% or more proof, right? Find some aloe vera lotion, some cream, doesn't matter. And find your favorite fragrance. What you're going to do is you're going to do one part the alcohol, one part the cream, and then spritz it. What do you have? Well, you have Germix. That's the recipe for Germix. And so kids were making this, and we're saying, okay, now let's talk about why does alcohol help sanitize your hands? And why is it a good antibacterial agent? And so now STEM becomes relevant. You haven't broken the bank, and kids are doing this live in front of the camera. I'm modeling. I have the materials here. I have my 3 bottles. And I said, okay, do you have your bottles? You know what? I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Go out, find some of these ingredients. Kids are coming back with, I got Lubriderm. Is this going to work? That'll work. You know, all these the kids were in front of the camera trying to show what they could do at home. And that's something that kind of happened organically. I didn't really plan for that. I just posed the problem, empowered students to create a solution. And then we're in this platform of Zoom. Guess what? They were presenting, they were defending their processes to their peers. It was a home run. It's a home run. So sometimes we have to understand situations. Okay, fine, but let's not make it so that they're limiting. Let's use them as a springboard to creative thinking and innovative problem solving. That's just one example. I can list 10 others, right? So that the idea is that project-based learning, you mentioned that, really is about finding problems that students find relevant to their lives. If you can connect to that, 80% of the work is already done.
That's perfect, my friend. And I love what you said. And one of the things that really resonates with me, and it's a phrase that you hear it often, and a lot of people preach it, but sometimes it doesn't follow through, but it's empowering students. And that's the thing that I love about STEM. And a couple of things that I did in my research, and actually I shared out those blogs, based on the research that I had done, is oftentimes we think STEM is like, okay, it's just like, okay, move the robot, do this. But there's so much more that goes along with that. And even in the SEL component too, of making those connections. Now, like you said, you were able to be there in front of the camera for those kids and you're posing the problem, you're setting an example. Now, one of the things that I found in my research in doing that was that oftentimes with STEM or STEM education in schools is that students don't see themselves in those roles. Representation, they can think like, oh, I've never seen, a Hispanic astronaut, or I've never seen a Hispanic engineer, or a Hispanic, this and so on. So that representation, but that's something that we need to work on to continue to build, our leaders of tomorrow and empowering the students to letting them know those things. What are some ways that you yourself personally, or even just through Region 1, what Region 1 is doing, how are you really advocating to empower students to be the future, engineers, the future STEM leaders of tomorrow?
Absolutely. Wonderful question. So to paraphrase a quote from one of the premier advocates for STEM education, Dr. Cindy Moss, right, with Define Learning. She says when she does her talk, she always talks about you can't be what you can't see, right? Nothing could be further more insightful, because nationally we see Hispanics in STEM careers it hovers about 8%. Now that's kind of a masked percentage, because that assumes that's Latinos. That includes Puerto Ricans. It includes all flavors of Hispanics. It doesn't just include it's not just Mexican Americans. So a lot of our national figures for STEM education, they hover around 8%, 7%. They really overestimate how many Hispanic students, Mexican Americans, are actually in STEM. The number's actually quite lower. So how are we going to impact that? One of the ways is, of course, career outreach, and students get educated about the opportunities that are out there. But what are the real factors that are going to either keep them in the pipeline or exclude them from the pipeline? And one of the factors that we see over and over again is when students engage in advanced placement courses in math and science and English. That's a better predictor of whether they're going to go into a STEM track, over if they happen to know what computer science is. They may be able to define computer science. They may take a field trip to an engineering plant, but if they're not being offered opportunities to engage in advanced placement courses that we know are high level, high rigor, because they help establish habits of mind in studying and creating good study, you're going to see a lot more students that get locked in and persist through some of the challenges that we know they face post-secondary. So how do we do that? The question is, how many Hispanic advanced placement teachers do we have that can teach math and science and engineering, right? That's where we need to focus some of our efforts, is how do we build teacher capacity? Some of the first role models for any STEM student is going to be their engineering teacher. It's going to be their math teacher, their science teacher, their technology teacher. Those are the gateway people that are going to put that little seed inside their head and say, you know what, I can be this. But they frame it around the proper skills that they need to develop. It's kind of like, imagine a student being talented in basketball, but yet he doesn't have a coach. No matter how talented he may be in basketball, if you don't have a coach to refine that talent, he won't get to that next level. If it's true for sports, it's true for academics, right? Having those coaches, having an engineering teacher, not only teach engineering, but also see their identity as a role model, see their identity as a mentor. Because it does take a reframing of the mind. I'm teaching my courses, but I'm also being an advocate for students to pursue this line, these pathways that can lead to really, really important, wonderful, exciting, rewarding careers later on in their paths.
That is wonderful, man. Like, you definitely nailed that, big time, And I really appreciate you sharing that, because it's something that is so important, and it really is near and dear to me, because STEM is definitely something that I love and something that we definitely need to see more of. And I know that we're getting back into school settings, and, students are back face to face. And, right now it's still an adjustment period, where some teachers are, trying to find their comfort zone. And they're getting there. They're everybody's kind of coming back, and I'm definitely hoping to see more hands-on, more of that STEM, education coming through. But let's talk a little bit about you guys, the work that you're doing here at Region 1. What is new and what is coming up, Gustavo? So share with us a little bit here what you guys are working on as far as the world of STEM.
Absolutely. So we're all about innovation, right? Trying to stay abreast of different trends. Definitely want to put a plug in for our 2022 STEM Summit. It's going to be again at the South Padre Isla Grande Beach Resort. That's going to be February 17th and 18th, right? So mark that in your calendars. We're going to have a whole slew of different STEM exhibitors. Wonderful. Our keynote speaker is probably going to be Dr. Jean-Hee Kim from Texas Tech University, dedicated to SEL for STEM education, but also outreach, right? And really trying to promote more female participation in STEM. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, as a STEM center here at the Region 1 Service Center, every year we try to push ourselves to offer staff development that is relevant, that is exciting. This year, our focus is in virtual reality and AR technology. So we're going to have Oculus Quest 2 trainings. We're going to have Z-Space trainings, different platforms to give teachers a different look, right? Yeah, we're used to paper and pencil and kits, but no, what about virtual world? Offers a whole new possibility of things. So when you're able to see a gear in 3D and, move it around and, okay, gear up scenarios, gear down scenarios, what about this motor? What about this, now let's go into biology. Oh, this is a ventricular artery. I can see it, right? So that it doesn't become an exception, that it becomes a mainstream experience for every student, that every student in the Rio Grande Valley has these experiences, not as an exception, but as something that's going to happen as part of their day-to-day learning in the Rio Grande Valley. So not only pushing trends, but also driving what is this new 21st century educator for STEM going to look like? And what is the toolkit that you have to have? You got your content, you got your pedagogy, right? Whether it's PBL, computational thinking, design-based thinking, what about the technology? That's evolving. Stay abreast of the technology. I go back to Henry Ford. He said, hey, Henry, what was the inspiration for building the Model T car? He said, well, I knew I couldn't build a faster horse. So the technology, he had to think outside the box. And sometimes as instructors, obviously there's resources that are needed, right? And those resources are more and more becoming more available for STEM as our administrators they've always realized that there was tremendous need. But I think that now more than ever, they're starting to understand that there's not competition, but there's choice in school models. So if a certain campus or certain school does not offer, the latest and greatest, students are free to navigate to other systems. And so, offering the best opportunities for learning is on everybody's radar, and we want to be part of that as well here at the Service Center.
That's great, man. And I'm so excited. I'm definitely looking forward to that conference. It's definitely one of my favorite conferences. And not just because it's at the beach, but just because definitely the presenters there and everything that have always been there have been great, and I'm looking forward to it because I'm very passionate about AR VR, and lately, I know maybe you're very familiar or you've heard it, but I mean, Morehouse College, I had the privilege and honor to interview their faculty, and pretty much their courses are now like in the metaverse. I mean, they're out there, they're creating, but you're talking about not just like, oh, it's the science people only doing it. No, you've got humanities that's doing it. You've got the history, they've got a history teacher, they've got an English teacher also as well, and then they've got science teachers, they're adding math. So that program is growing, and it all started because of pandemic of how are we gonna get our students to really immerse themselves in the learning through immersive learning. And now they're creating and they're taking ownership of their learning. And a lot of people say, well, the goggles and this. Well, I was getting feedback from Dr. Morris, and Dr. Morris said, they have the goggles and they're immersed, there's no room for distraction. Like, oh, I'm going to grab my phone or I'm going to do this. It's like you've got the goggles on and they're doing their learning. And one of the things that I love, Gustavo, more than anything is that Dr. Clark comes and she makes those humanities connections with science, and they're starting to show that there really isn't a barrier between the subject matters that, as we assume, like, oh, well, that's just ELA, that's just science. They're bringing it together and creating these great learning experiences. So I'm excited about this conference, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And you mentioned AR and VR, right? So on the AR side, we're seeing textbook companies starting to embed AR elements in the textbook. So now, if I want to get that cell phone, it's not just for entertainment or just communications. Now it's being transformed into a 21st century learning device. So a student, a third grader is reading a little book, and he needs a visual connection because maybe he's got some deficiencies or maybe he's got some interventions. Uses AR, scans a code. Now that book, those pages come to life. This is already happening in Singapore. It's already happening in some of these other countries. And so our textbook designers are going to be introducing some of the new generation textbooks and new textbook adoptions. And we have those schedules, but you're going to see more and more where interactive books are becoming a lot more relevant simply because our demand as consumers is changing. Right? We go from, think about it. A kid is on Instagram, on Facebook, on, all these wonderful social media, on gaming platforms. Oh my God. Fortnite, Overwatch, all this stuff. I have a high school kid who's just yelling at 3:00 in the night. I gave up on it. But anyway, so they're consumed with technology. And then on Monday, they come to school and they're opening up a history book that's just kind of dry. You went from this level of engagement in technology to like a lack of vision is really what it is, right? So we need to understand the needs of our learners, right? Their learners, their learning is changing. The demand is changing, right? And so we as educators, we have to stay abreast of the best way to engage them. And a lot of that is just knowing what the technology is. Now, there is a little bit of digital divide, but that's why we're here, to create safe spaces for teachers to come in and engage in different ways of engaging students, right? I'm excited about that whole piece. It does require a little bit of reframing of the mind, especially for some of our teachers. But with a little bit of help here and a little bit of modeling, it's not rocket science. It's things that they can pick up, and then again and drive amazing lessons for students across the board, K through 12.
I love that you said, because that innovation is coming and that innovation is here. And as a matter of fact, I did a presentation today on AR, VR, and mainly it's just focusing on the future of learning. And it's not so much, I told them, look, I'm going to share some apps with you, but it's not really like, hey, I'm going to turn this around and put it into the hands of my classroom tomorrow. But it's really to get them thinking about where this is going. And like you mentioned one thing, it's like, going from this high level of technology, like your son, playing and engaged, and then all of a sudden you're going down to a flat piece of paper, lack of innovation, lack of vision. And again, it's not so much, I can't say that it's only the teacher, but it's just maybe they're just not exposed to it. But it's a matter of putting it out there and just getting them to think. My way to that is I tell my teachers, and especially today when I was presenting, I want this to be for you first. You experience it. I want you to get creative with it, get clicky with it. You're not going to break anything. I want you to experiment with it. And I guarantee you that while you experiment with it, man, the wheels are going to be spinning, that creative juice is going to be going. And then all of a sudden you're going to say, oh, I can put this in this class, or I can embed this in this. And now you're exposing the students to that tech. And again, it's the future of higher ed. Now that we're seeing even Michigan State is implementing a lot of AR, VR. There's a lot more other colleges that are out there now being on the news that are implementing this. And it's definitely going to be something that we're going to see. And we're currently going to be seeing in the future of the workforce. So we definitely need to prepare our students for that. Well, Gus, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate our conversation, and I can definitely go on and on with you forever. So we might actually have to schedule a show where it's just like one-on-one, just STEM and everything. But thank you so much for everything. And any parting words here for our audience members?
The only thing I can say is thank you for always being passionate about trying to make a difference, right? It really does take a village, right? The challenges are real, right? The setbacks are real, but our drive is also real, and our passion is also real. And don't underestimate your capacity in your ecosystems to make a difference, right? Reach out to that teacher next door and say, hey, I can help you with that, right? Pay it forward as much as you can, and I think that collectively as a region we'll move the needle forward and continue to provide amazing opportunities for our students. So Alfonso, thank you so much for having me. I invite everybody to visit the Region 1 Service Center. We have an amazing conference center here. Visit us here. We have our Region 1 STEM Center. We're continually always making innovations and trying to make it the best it can be. Feel free to drop in anytime. We're here to serve, and hope to see you again here at the Service Center anytime.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate you guys. And again, as always, it's always an honor and a pleasure to be here at Region 1. So make sure that you check out that conference coming up. It's going to be exciting. Gus, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, my friend. My friends, we're going to be taking a short break as we're getting our next guest lined up. Thank you so much. But we are live at UTECH 21, Region 1. Thank you so much, Omar, Carla, Mr. Chuka, Mike Chuka. Who else am I forgetting? Sylvia Escobar, and everybody that is here. We just talked to Ali Kolahdouz, the Technology for Learning Deputy Director, and there definitely is some amazing things happening here in the region, in Region 1, and the building is beautiful. You definitely need to come by and check it out. We're going to take a short little break, but we will be right back with our next guest. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We are still live, so we're just waiting for our next guest. So hopefully we can get somebody in here soon. But again, I just wanted to jump in and check in just to let you know that we are still going live, guys. So I will be back shortly in a little break. So let me go ahead and just make sure I put here, be back shortly. That way you guys know that we are still live here at UTECH 21. All right, everybody. Hello, and we are back to UTECH 21. We are live here at Region 1. We've been here all day today, and it's been phenomenal just to be back here face to face. So I'm just really excited to be here. And right now, we are going to be joined by Dr. Rene and Maria Elena Corbeil right here. And so there they are. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, how are you all?
All right, perfect. So now I am really excited that I finally have both Dr. Corbeils on the show. As many of you who are fans of the show and have been watching the show, Dr. Rene Corbeil was actually our very first guest on April 10th, 2020. And then after that, he was a guest a couple of episodes ago too as well. Now this is the third time. This is a guest that we've had for the third time, but we also have the amazing Dr. Maria Elena Corbeil as well, who is just an amazing, amazing professor. And I have been blessed to have the opportunity to have both of them during our master's program at UTRGV. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, guys. So I'm really excited that you get to share your program and what you're doing. So I'm really excited. So we'll start with you, Dr. Corbeil. How does it feel right now, just, kind of being back face to face? And Dr. Maria Elena, you can go ahead and chime in too as well.
Well, I'll tell you, this is our first live conference in 2 years. Since COVID, it has been, we're excited. We were ready. We couldn't wait to be here.
We're so grateful for this opportunity because of the energy. We have not only met students who are interested in the program, but current students and graduates, and to hear their stories about how they've made it through this time, not just survived, but thrived. And we have just been getting all that energy, and we are so proud of everybody. It just feels so good to be back face to face with everybody.
Oh no, and I imagine that. And I know that we've got Omar Lopez here also who went through the program. Omar and I actually both graduated the same year and everything, with just different locations, but the same year. I told him, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go graduate in Brownsville so I can see Dr. Maria Elena and Rene Corbeil. He graduated here in Edinburgh. But it was through that program also, even though I had seen him at conferences, but the fact that him and I were able to connect, and we were able to connect on various projects. And so it was just really exciting to be part of this program. And most importantly, and I'm throwing this out there not because, well, yeah, I mean, in a way it does sell the program, but as a graduate of the program, people often ask, like, well, why did you choose that one? Being that there are other schools, or I guess bigger name schools or anything like that. And my story behind that is Dr. Corbeil was the only one that called me back. No one else took the time to call me back and talk to me about the program. And once he called me, he walked me through and said, hey, this is the way it is. This is the way it goes. I said, you know what? Just the fact that he took time on a Saturday, because it was a Saturday. And then later on, I found out his routine of he has to get up, he has to post 7 articles before he does anything. And then after that, the day can start. But he was able to call me back, and that really meant a lot. But I'm really excited that you are here, that you're joining us. And let's learn a little bit more about the program. I want my friends to know about this program because I know it's something that's helped me become better at what I do, to be a better outside the box thinker, and really to just have that eye for innovation and really adapt, improvise, and overcome. So tell us a little bit about the program.
Okay. Well, it's a 30-hour accelerated, fully online graduate program. It's 100% project-based, so that means there's no tests. In every class, you will identify a real-world training need or opportunity within your work environment, whether it's a school or whatever type of business you might be in, and you'll develop some kind of instructional solution for it. You want to...
What's really amazing about the program is a few things. You're never alone. We're always with you. And not just us, the other instructors also. And every student, every project is an individual. We always say that yes, an A is important. Everyone's aiming for that A. And of course, the projects have rubrics and you know what you need to do to get that A. But for us, most importantly, is we're helping you look at every project for your target audience to meet the need in your real world job that you need to meet. So we work with you individually on each project and give you feedback. For example, Alfonso, so you're trying to train these teachers in the use of Nearpod. Some are new, some are experienced. Have you thought about this? Or this seems kind of complicated. Oh, and it's a conversation with each of you. And the students network with each other. We don't know everything, you don't know everything, so it's so magical and powerful for a student to find a technology or say, well, this is what I'm doing in my workplace. And we've had students that start working with each other, not just at the projects, but all of a sudden we're like, wait, weren't you with Sherryland? Oh, that's a funny story. I met Alfonso and now I'm working with him, or I'm working in McAllen or Brownsville, or we have students from all over the world and all over Texas. So that kind of networking is really, really a great resource and a great, it's so interesting and fun for us in the program.
And one final thing, we do want to stay connected to our students during the program and after they've graduated. If we can help them, if there are any services or things that we can do to help them grow professionally, we're there for them. It's not just during that short period of time when they're in our class that we care. If you come to our program, we care about you long after you've graduated.
And you all inspire us and motivate us, not just during the classes, but after you've graduated. And what you're doing, yes, you're in the class, but you're out there. You're impacting other people, other learners, and you inspire us and you motivate us.
And I've often said these last 2 years, our students, current students and former students, they were the first responders for the schools, to figure out how are we going to finish the school year? How are we going to carry on when everything's shut down? So we feel very proud of the fact that our students, stood up and took such an important role in that aspect.
No, I absolutely agree. Now, one of the things that you mentioned, and I'm going to dissect a lot of what you said because it really resonates with me. I mean, it's the program was definitely very memorable because it was one of those, like you said, there's no exams and you turn in a portfolio, and it was something that was amazing in the fact that, okay, you're getting graded on the task and understanding how to do an instructional unit, and breaking it down. And for those of you who don't know what an instructional unit is, don't worry, I didn't know about it either until I took the class with Dr. Rene Corbeil. But like the way she says, it's oftentimes we're going to run into some problems and it's about finding a solution. But sometimes the solution is not as easy as you think, and you really need to break things down to really dissect to make sure that you're hitting and meeting all those targets. And those are some of the things that I appreciated about the program, that coming into my current role, before I started the program, it was more of, oh, let's just do the easy solution and let's just do this. But I never knew that there was more to it until this program. And so those are some of the things that I take away. The networking aspect, that to me has been wonderful too, as well as I've met some wonderful educators, not only from here in the Valley, but, out of state, and people that are from out of state that are in states where they've got big schools that offer the same kind of program, but yet they choose UTRGV. And I'm very happy to be part of something special that's happening here at UTRGV as the program continues to grow and gain notoriety and, gain publicity as being, in the top 5 schools that offer educational technology because of the work that you are doing. And like you said, the leaders that we have here today, a lot of people here, presenters. We have Carlos and his wife that are doing the program, the other colleagues of mine that are joining the program. Actually, we have somebody here, Andy Salinas, who's doing the program, and he works here at Region 1. So tell us a little bit about just this, because the misconception that some people may have as far as ed tech, educational technology, do you have to be a techie person in order to be part of this program?
I'll let you do that one.
That's a great question, Alfonso. Absolutely not. The way the program and every class is set up, when the student comes in, they start with the skills that they have. If they can get online and send an attachment with an email, that's enough. Through the classes, the students will explore the different technologies that are appropriate for the task that they want to complete, and they use that technology. Part of the learning process is exploring and learning and seeing the pros and cons of the different technologies and what they offer, and then actually using them. And that's how we learn. Now, some of our students are professionals at IT. They can code. They're experienced at using not just technologies for education, but for programming and databases and other, technologies. Well, they could start there. Maybe they've been interested in using a more advanced program or using the coding in a different way to help their learners learn. They have that control over their learning to pick the software or the tool they want to use. And if they don't know how to pick it, that's part of the learning in the classes. A good instructional technologist, a good educational technologist also knows how to do the research and pick the right tool. Teach themselves how to use it, because that's what most of us have to do, right? The technologies are so new and changing. So the short answer is no. You don't have to be advanced in technology. You will gain confidence in the courses. You will learn the different technologies. You will network with each other and learn them as you go through the program. Another misconception is that they need expensive software to be in the program. And I'll let you take that one, Rene.
Well, that's true. We try to always promote open source, free options at first. And as students gain experience and become proficient in using those tools, sometimes they will gravitate towards the commercial, more expensive products. If their organization is using a certain type of Adobe product and they want to learn how to use it through our coursework, that's okay too. We encourage it. So you're always growing through the program, and we, like Maria Elena said, will take you where you are and work from there.
to me, that's something that I really like too. And the other aspect that I liked is that the scenarios and the projects that we had to do, yes, there was a rubric, but what I loved is that you gave us free reign. It wasn't like it has to be this scenario or it has to be this. No. You're like, find a real world problem. And it could either be something that you're at your work, that you're trying to, bring a better system in, or maybe better training or things of that sort. Or maybe there's something that you're interested in that you want to teach somebody, but it was personal. You were empowering us to take what we are already good at or what we're passionate about and really apply the tools that you helped us, through the coursework, whether it was, the instructional units, the design courses when we had to design our own courses. That's a whole other story that was pretty funny that we talked about earlier. But it really does challenge you to see things in a different way. And I think that's really more the value that I have, aside from you building us up, but the ability that you have given us to, at any second, be able to improvise, adapt, and overcome, and really work with what we have and be resourceful and find a solution. And I think that, what you're doing is great because, like I said, I've seen a lot of people go through the program, and even now going through my doctoral studies and going through the educational technology specialization track, I mean, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is great. I mean, the possibilities for me are endless, and I'm really excited about that and what you're offering. What I did do here is also I did share the link, and this will be in the show notes as well. But let me go ahead and share this page here for the Graduate College Educational Technology. So if you guys that are watching or rewatching or listening to it later, click on the link on the page that will be in the show notes. Or you can go ahead and check out this page here. You have more request information forms that you can check out. You can also check out a nice video here about educational technology. But I promise you, if you are interested, even though you're not techie, please get that out of your head, but that you are proficient enough, but this is something that you really want to pursue, I definitely recommend this program, as Dr. Maria Elena Corbeil and Dr. Rene Corbeil and the rest of the professors that I've had the privilege and honor to work with, Dr. Crossland, it was pretty much them, and then a lot of other professors. It was phenomenal. And trust me, guys, the time flies. It goes by so fast. Those 7 weeks really come at you, and before you know it, you're done, you have a degree, and you're opening up more doors. And Dr. Corbeil, both Dr. Rene and Dr. Maria Elena, thank you so much for what you do. I really applaud your efforts, and you just putting UTRGV on the map and just creating all this excitement that is here too as well. I know your table has been very busy. I know at TCEA a couple years ago too as well, people were coming and everything. So the need is there. And all I can say is that what you are offering definitely goes above and beyond. So thank you so much for what you do. Any kind of parting words or a way to contact you or anything that you'd like to share as well about the program?
Thank you, Alfonso. We also want to take a minute to thank you and appreciate what you're doing. We are so proud of you and so grateful for the contributions that you are making worldwide now, not just in your city and your district with fellow educators, but other students. And thank you for having the courage to have this podcast, to have all the other resources that you have, and for bringing people together. That's what you do, is bring them together in conversations. But that takes a lot of planning and time and ganas and thinking and energy. And so we applaud you too, and we thank you. We tell people just to jump in. The EdTech link is there. Alfonso shared it.
You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. You can find us. If you just Google us, you'll find us. And
as Alfonso said, we will call you back.
Yes, most definitely, guys. And I will be sharing the links here. They are very active on social media, so please make sure you check them out. And here you do have the Twitter handle at I'm Future Ready. Follow them on Twitter. They, Dr. Corbeil said, LinkedIn, Facebook, they follow you. And again, truthfully, they do follow you back. They do call you back more than anything, they are with you every step of the way of the program. They are accessible every step of the program. So if you ever have a doubt or concern that, well, what if I'm taking this online course and the professor, I'm just staring at a screen, professor just answers via email and so on, you can rest assured that I have Dr. Corbeil's telephone number. You can send him a text if you have any questions, and they will get to you and they will work with you. And I trust me that their whole plan is to help you succeed and to continue to grow, to be that educational technology leader. So thank you so much, Dr. Rene, Dr. Maria Elena. As always, it's a pleasure. And I know this won't be the last time that we get to see each other and we're hanging out as conference season. To me, this is officially opening, and I'm really excited for all the conferences. I know you guys will be at TCA. I'll definitely look forward to catching up with you guys there as well. So thank you so much for being here. And everybody watching us right now, we are live at UTECH 21 here at Region 1. I really appreciate every single one of you who is joining us and listening to all our wonderful guests. We will be taking a short break right now as we get our next guest lined up. But thank you so much for sticking around. And thank you so much for everybody that did an amazing job here at Region 1 putting this together. Thank you very much, guys. And we will be back shortly. So don't go away. Hello, everybody, and we are back here. We are live at UTECH 21. And guys, this is our farewell. I really want to thank Region 1. I really want to thank all our guests that we had here today. We had Erica Esqueda, Donna ISD, Nancy Stockton, Angie Culberson, Sherryland ISD, Carlos Garza, La Jolla ISD. We also had the Technology for Learning Deputy Director, Ali Kolahdouz, who is joining us here from Region 1. We had Gustavo Perez here from Region 1 talking about STEM, and Dr. Rene and Maria Elena Corbeil for joining us. I really appreciate all of you guys being here today. And again, I'm happy. It's conference season. We're back face to face. Thank you all for all of your support. Thank you all for following us at myedtech.live. Thank you so much for making this show what it is today, because we do what we do for you. Guys, we're just excited to bring wonderful educators and creators together one show at a time. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. So here I am signing off. And don't forget, this Saturday morning, Saturdays are for VR, we've got the wonderful and amazing Bobby Carlton, who's going to be joining us. And we're going to be talking about all things AR, VR, and the implications that AR, VR have not only in education, the future of learning, but in the workforce as technology is improving day by day. So don't forget, my friends, until next time, make sure you stay techie.